Welcome, welcome. To see you guys joining us. We appreciate it. Hope you're having a great weekend. We're excited. It's the first time, y'all. So
we're excited and we're nervous at the same time. So if there's any technical difficulties, yeah.
It's a learning process. We're all gonna learn it together. So we're just waiting for more people to join. Give some folks a few more minutes to log on. Yeah. Happy Saturday, y'all.
Yeah. So basically, what we're doing today is just answering questions. We've gotten a lot of questions of things that we might not be able to do a full-blown video on because it's just, a small topic here and there. And so we wanted to give everybody an opportunity to be able to just answer some of those questions and get to know some of the people that are subscribed to our channel. Mm-hmm. So if you have any questions, that we don't already have, just add it in the chat below and we'll be happy to answer those as well.
Yep.
I'm probably going to be the moderator, and he'll be on the chat, and he'll be the one.
I'm the guest speaker.
All right. So I'm going to pull up the questions that we already have, and then we'll get started. So I think the biggest question that we've gotten recently is that we changed our name, and everyone is asking why, because we didn't really make any announcement or anything like that. You just saw a video and our Instagram changed, our YouTube name changed, and we started a Facebook page as well. So we changed our name from the Quadri Squad to RLF Power Couple.
Yeah, I know people were asking like, man, are you changing your name? What's going on? We're keeping our last name. It's not changing.
Right. We're not changing our last name. Our last name is still staying the same. And I know some people that were following us, like our video came up and they're like, who's this? So it's still us. So the reason why we changed our names for a couple reasons. One, with the Quadri Squad, that's just our last name, and it says a squad of us. And our family, our channel is not just focused on lifestyle and our family. It's more than that. And we wanted our channel name to represent that.
Correct. And a lot of people are, trying to aspire to be a power couple, right? And not only are we trying to become that, we want to also represent that for other people to realize that's what we stand for.
Right.
And, the RLF portion of it is relationship, lifestyle, finance, as you alluded to. So, hey, this is the new family now.
Yes, and we also did a play on words because RLF is also like real life. And since we're aspiring for that, that's another reason why we use those initials.
Right.
All right. Did you get any comments on that?
Well, somebody said you look cute. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Is it you they're talking about?
All right, we both look cute. Appreciate it. All right. Well, more people are joining on. Thank you all for joining. All right. So we're going to go.
Actually introduce ourselves.
We should.
Right. So for everybody that doesn't know us, my name is Shamie.
And I'm Ola.
Right. And we are the RLF Power Couple, like we just explained to you.
Woo!
I'm glad somebody's excited.
Yes. All right. So that's our background. That's who we are. Let's dive right into the purpose of this video.
Right. So like we said earlier, we're answering questions. And so I'm just going to go to one of the first questions we actually got when we started this channel, because we are talking a lot about relationships. And somebody had asked, how do you deal with loneliness? And that is definitely deep. And that's something that everybody goes through, regardless of whether they're in a relationship or have people around them. Because a lot of times, you can be surrounded by the most loving people in the world and you still feel lonely for one reason or the other.
Correct.
So in order to deal with it, you have to basically look within, because a lot of people are searching for somebody else to fill that loneliness. And so if you're looking for somebody else to fill it, you're probably never going to find it. If you're a person of faith, you need to go to God and have God fill you and make you happy and fill that void that you're feeling, because loneliness is usually due to a void.
Right. And then if you stay in that loneliness, it definitely graduates into like depression and, abuse and different things like that. And that's why it's important to really try to tackle that loneliness, right?
Right.
I guess the question would be more around, how do we handle it, right? Or what's our opinion about? I think the biggest thing is really finding people around you that support you and care for you, right? And being transparent and open with people. Sometimes we have friends that don't want to share or don't feel comfortable sharing. Maybe you share your own, I guess, private things or things that you're struggling with, and they'll be open to share theirs, because you might have a friend that you talk with and chat with, but they don't feel comfortable enough to share, and they stay lonely, right? So, you might have friends, but it doesn't mean that they're not lonely. So being open and what's the word now?
Transparent?
I guess beyond transparent, vulnerable, right?
So to tell somebody how you're feeling.
If you share that, that other person could do the same, and that just helps everybody out, right? And I think that's one step forward.
Right. And along those same lines, just reaching out to people. You might be home alone and you're like, I don't know who to reach out. But if you look at your phone, you have contacts that are probably thinking, oh, I need to reach out to you as well. But everyone keeps going with the motion of life. Life gets so crazy sometimes. And we forget about the people we really do care about, and we don't send them a message and everything. So if you're in the position where you're feeling lonely, reach out to your circle. Do you want to hang out? Maybe just a phone call, and that could help as well.
That's crazy to say that, because there was actually a time when I was, living and all that in Indiana, and there was a time where I was actually feeling really lonely. And then I started thinking, like, man, I've got people at work. I talk to people at church, my family. I talk to them once in a while, all of that. But I still feel lonely, just me in my apartment doing my thing. And I started to realize that I actually don't reach out.
Right.
I don't. I guess I feel more comfortable not reaching out and telling people what's going on with me, because they'll ask, okay, what's going on, blah, blah, blah. And I don't want to spend time sharing. But it's important to reach out. And that's the way people will know, okay, you are really a friend, or you're a person that care about me, and I will care about you. It's a mutual relationship.
Right. And then that goes right to our next, oh, sorry. Can you go to the chat so we can make sure am I the moderator, or are you the moderator?
You're the moderator.
Okay.
All right.
Switch. Okay, so you're going to, right. So welcome everybody. I see Bamie, I see Shia, I see Elizabeth, Lola, Loveline. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
We're international, y'all. We got people all over the world. We appreciate y'all. Don't worry, when we blow, yeah, we toss. So okay.
All right, so that ties into our next question of people that are wanting to get married. They've waited, they've prayed, and they're still searching for that right person. What do they do? They want to know, what do they do during their wait? And how do they manage the wait? Like, is God listening to them? Is anybody listening to them?
That's a tough one.
I'm gonna let you answer it.
During your waiting, again, it sounds cliche, but the most important thing is developing yourself. While in the waiting, there's less distractions, or there should be less distractions, less responsibilities in terms of having to help and manage somebody else's situations, right? You're on your own at that point. Why don't you spend the time developing yourself? Why are you not reading books? Why are you not, going to seminars, workshops, developing yourself spiritually, financially, emotionally? You should be working on yourself. That's very, very important. For me, for a fact, I know that I missed some of those opportunities. I was watching a video on finance recently, and there was a lady talking about, dividend investments and stuff like that. And I'm like, I didn't even read into all of that. Right. I had a friend at the time, he would buy a book called Finance for Dummies, the Dummies book, right? And I was wondering, why is this guy reading this book? Not knowing that I was the one that was, missing out on learning early. And again, everything is exponential. You start early, the better for you. So again, in your waiting, develop yourself.
Right, exactly. Hi, Linda. I don't know if we said hi to you already. Welcome to the party. So we are, like he said, building up yourself. But some people have built themselves. They feel like they've done everything they need to do. But the thing is that there's always room for growth.
Continuous improvement.
I think talking to a lot of people, they've met their spouses and things like that when they weren't looking. Sometimes when you're focused on something too much, God is saying, are you focused on me? Because when that is taking priority over God because you're so worried about that, then it's gonna sometimes God is like, I need you to come to me, right, and focus on me. And because like my husband preached last night, talking about distractions. A lot of times we're distracted by worry and things like that, and those are the things that are actually holding us back from getting where we need to get to.
Yeah. I wasn't planning on being a pastor, by the way, but God leads in mysterious ways. Okay.
Yeah, so Shia A said, very true. The best version of yourself you can be before marriage directly relates to the best version of marriage you can create. Very, very true. Very true. Because like for us, because we honestly, both of us weren't as developed as we could have been before we got married. So we had more to work through. So the better developed you are, the better for your marriage.
Right.
So we're gonna go to the next question. Somebody had asked, you want to read that question?
Yeah. So what system do you use to save money effectively in your household? I love it.
You want me to answer?
Go ahead. I just said I love it because I want to see it.
So the best way to effectively save is to make it automatic. Once you see money and it's in your proximity to spend it, more than likely you're gonna spend it. Naturally, money wants to be spent because there's always gonna be something. So what we do to effectively save is that we've calculated our percentage of savings. We do a $0 base budget, and so we know where every single penny is going, and so we know the amount that's gonna go to savings. So automatically from our paycheck, it goes to our savings. We don't get to see it. So it's not part of the equation of the money that's being able to be spent. And we have a video actually that we recorded a couple weeks ago that's going to be coming up in the next few weeks, talking about exactly how we split our money, what different kind of accounts we have, and how we're able to manage our money because we have those different buckets that we put our money in.
Yeah, and that's a very deep question because, in that video she just mentioned, we shared that we used a Dave Ramsey book where we learned a little bit more about how to save and, how to manage our finances, as well as Barefoot Investor, which talked about how to manage our savings. And we now have a hybrid, which again, that video talks about. We have a hybrid that works for us. Again, you have to figure out what works for you in saving your money. And it works for us pretty well. And we continue to learn and read, right? I wanted to share, a couple of books that we actually spent time reading on, and I won't show them in the video. But a lot of books out there will teach you and guide you step by step, but you have to spend the time to go read. And we try to read, at least 2 or 3 finance book a year.
Yeah, we're failing at that right now. Let's just be honest.
Yeah,
we're struggling for time. But yeah, the best thing you can do in order to save is make it automatic and make it, out of your way, so that money, you're not looking at your entire paycheck, but you know what's going to your savings, and you never see it. It's an account that's separate from everything else. You can't easily pull out of it, and that's the best way to be able to save.
Okay.
Next question.
Let's go to the next question. And if you guys have questions or more questions as you're watching, feel free to put it in the chat group. All right, this is a loaded one.
Okay.
Can you guys talk about fighting healthy in marriage? Okay, so I guess the example they're giving is, a couple can be fighting, but the wife still makes the food. Hopefully don't put poison in the food. And then they discuss important things that come up during that time, but not necessarily made up.
Right. So I think the question, because I did try to clarify, is basically, how can we have a fight and still be respectful of each other, and still, while we're trying to work on that disagreement, still be respectful? The wife can still cook, they can still talk, because some people, they fight and they stop communicating with each other, and so I believe that's what that question is about.
Correct.
So do you want to go ahead and take that one?
Oh boy. Okay. So, and by the way, the wife could cook, the husband could cook, I could. So I guess in the situation where you fight or whatnot, for us, I would just say we've talked about it multiple times. Is if you're feeling upset, let's talk about it, right? There's no reason why we should go to bed and forget about it. The next day is still lingering in our mind. We need to talk about it as soon as possible. Now, if we have that incident, our life will still go on, right? We can't show that in front of the kids that we are mad or upset, and we are not going to, take care of them or take care of things in the
right,
house.
Like, I'm mad.
Right.
You take care of the kids.
Exactly.
Bye.
I mean, we still have to live our lives, right? Now, if we're upset, we still find the time to talk and discuss it out and say, okay, why did you react this way? Or what was the, issue there? Maybe we can give an example of how the one time where I took the car and I didn't come home.
I mean, we can give that example, but I think just to go back to the basis of the question is how, not really, because that's more of like, explaining what we did.
Yeah.
But I think the baseline is just making sure that, whatever situation that you're fighting about or you disagree about, that's not your marriage. That's not your relationship. Separating that issue from your spouse as a person. So for example, like he was mentioning, the fact that he took the car and I needed the car and I was upset, him doing that doesn't make him less of a person. So if I'm going to react and say, because you did that, I'm not going to do this to you. I'm not going to help you do this. I'm not going to help you do that. That's me saying that he's a bad person, not that what he did was bad. So if you can separate whatever it is you're arguing about from that person, from your relationship, that's the only way you're going to be able to, still fight in a healthy way. Because a relationship that you never fight in is not really a real relationship. No two people are exactly alike. You're going to have arguments. You're going to have disagreements. But it's being able to work through them by objectively thinking about the situation without, saying you're no longer doing anything in the house. So I'm not cleaning anymore. I'm upset. I mean, I'm guilty. I'm guilty of that.
I mean, the other thing too is there's actually something we're watching recently, a series on forgiveness, right? You have to learn to forgive. I mean, a lot of times, we feel like, oh man, this can't happen to me, or I can't believe you did this and that, right? You have to have a kind heart. You have to have a tender heart, especially with your family and your spouse, right? You have to be, able to forgive, right? They didn't intentionally do that to spite you, probably. So you might want to realize that it's important. That forgiveness, again, is just going to really help all of that situation, right? They would realize, oh man, I guess you're not so upset, but I apologize, and they understand that you're that much more caring, and they can do better next time.
Right, and we have miracle stories that said communication is key. Exactly, you just have to make sure that you're communicating through it all.
Yep.
All right, so let's do a finance question. I'm guessing you don't have the remaining questions. Oh no, it's on this phone. Sorry, y'all.
I've got it right here.
Okay. So the next question is, what is the best way to format or manage a budget? What is the best way of format to budget? So how do you budget? And there is no best way because everybody is gonna be, it's gonna be different for everybody.
Correct.
And we've learned to figure it out one way or the other. So I've always been a spreadsheet type of person. And when we got married, he was a Mint type of person.
I was using Mint.
He was using Mint. And so, when we got together, he tried to get me on the Mint, and it just wasn't it for me because I couldn't. Some people like to see their numbers, and some people write their budget. There's a lot of people in the debt-free community on YouTube and Instagram that sell budget sheets where you can actually fill in your budget manually. So what you need to do if you're trying to find out the best way to budget, you have to start trying different ways.
Correct.
So you can, try on paper, you can try Mint. Another good one that we used at some point and we stopped because it was too manual. It was called Every Dollar. It's Dave Ramsey's $0 based budget software. And we used that for a little bit as well, but they realized it didn't work for us. And at the end of the day, we went back to spreadsheets. But the big thing is you just need to know what is coming in, what's going out. Make sure it's a $0 based budget because you want to know where every single penny is going. If you don't have that, you're just just be like, oh, I got paid, and oh, where's my money? Because you didn't plan for every dollar to know where it goes.
Yeah.
So you just have to start. Like I said, every dollar is good. Mint is good, but you have to see if it works for you or not.
Right. So as they say, right, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. The example of having those apps that weren't working, and the reason why it was so manual is that when the expenses come into the account, it wasn't categorizing them properly.
Right.
And you'll have to still go in and manually update them and say, okay, this was for this type of expense versus that. And also when you transfer money, it could get pretty confusing. So if you just had your spreadsheet and you were able to manually update it and track it, it would be better for you. And then you're able to see the trends in your account.
Right. And if you're interested at some point, if you all want to see actually how we budget, just comment in the chat that you actually want to see how we personally budget.
Yeah.
And we'll be happy to share that.
I mean, we've had various variations of Excel spreadsheets that we created over the years. And it's actually now at a point where we feel is very, very robust.
Right.
Okay.
Hi, Dutson. We have another question. So we have Shia A that said Mint works really well for her. So, if it works well for you, go ahead and, keep using it. And other people that are still trying to figure it out, try Mint because it's a free service.
We're trying
and it pulls all, like you connect and link your bank accounts, your credit cards, whatever it is, and it will automatically pull those transactions in there for you.
Correct.
So, all right. Yeah, she needs her flexibility. So, all right. So then the next question we have is, what are your thoughts on joint account? And this one is from the chat.
Ooh,
oh my goodness. One. Yeah.
We had a tough debate with some friends here. So anyways.
Who wants to start?
Okay. I'll just start very lightly. We believe that joint accounts are important, but there's also
Here's what I found.
Oh, sorry.
Siri wanted to answer.
There's also a point where you do have to have a split, right? So it's a mixture. Joint account, I believe it's good because if you're able to see what each other is making, there's no mistrust, or there's no, I guess, you can expect from each other. You can see what to expect from each other's pay, right? And all of that is in one place. So if she's not available to balance the accounts and stuff, I can go in and see it. It doesn't matter, right? So I think that helps a lot. And then when you're done, you can now split it out the way you want or whatnot. So
right. So I'm a big believer of joint accounts just because I feel like he said, transparency.
Yeah.
I've heard stories of people saying they have no idea how much their spouse makes. I think that's a very, very dangerous position to be, because God forbid something happens, or somebody loses their job or something happens, and the other person doesn't know, oh, this is how much my husband or my wife makes. That can cause for some big issues. Now, in terms of if you only have to have a joint account, I don't think that you do. We've tried when we got married to just have joint accounts, and I can say it did not work for us. Because at the end of the day, especially depending on when you get married, at what point in your life you get married, you've already built yourself financially on your own. So now now all your money is in one account, and you don't have control over it anymore. That can be really tough. And so it's a good idea for you to have something, on the side, agreed upon. Like, let's say, so for us, this is what happened. After, going through where, oh, who spent the money? Why did you spend this much? I didn't spend that much. Some people have concerns that their wife will take their credit card and spend the whole world. I don't know why it's always the wife. Sometimes the husband can spend too much as well.
Guys shop too now.
Exactly. So, but anyway, so it's good for you. The money that's just like, spending money for you to do whatever you want to. I think it's a good idea for you, that it's okay for you to have a bank account on the side where from that joint account, you all have an agreed amount that goes to each person, and then you can do with what you like, and you don't have to explain to anybody when oh, I need a burger. I'm not gonna call my husband, please, can I buy $1 McDonald's? That eliminates that, and that's why we had to move to that way of doing things.
Right. Any other questions?
We have Agani Williams that said manual entry is challenging because you have to do it after the fact, and find a bank that is part of their online banking system. Right. So that she was talking about the challenges of mints, I believe. So, or maybe not. Maybe she's talking about doing everything manually. So she likes the fact that Mint does some things automatically.
Yeah. And I mean, I know Mint also has other features, right? They have charts. You can see the trends. You can see, I mean,
right.
it's built to be efficient, right?
Right.
But I think, at least at the time we were using it, there was challenges with trying to get it categorized and having to go back in and double take and checking and making sure. So that was a little bit cumbersome. So it was just easy on the spreadsheet, but it might work for you. So.
Yeah, right. Oh, somebody said I need to see all. Is that talking about all
you
the
want to
money?
See all our accounts?
No, not our accounts. I think they're talking about the joint accounts. Were you talking about the accounts that you say you need to see? Exactly, because you need to know before somebody. I heard a story of somebody that their husband just spent all their money and then they're like, oh, I didn't know. Just like I didn't know. When you're married, it's both of you they will carry.
Yep. I mean, you start, and then this is actually funny though, but it's pretty important, right? If you start seeing some crazy income coming in from your spouse, right, and or actually you don't have access to it, but there's crazy income coming to their accounts that could be dodgy.
Boy.
I didn't want to see it. There could be dodgy things coming into their account, or there's things happening in their account that maybe they're not as good or savvy with finance, and they're missing, and it's costing your family altogether.
Right.
I mean, it's 2 heads is better than one, right, y'all? So it's better to just put it on one account so you can be able to trace it, track it, monitor it. And obviously anything that happens to your spouse, it would eventually happen to you. So it's better to be able to see it and be transparent with each other.
Right. And then there's some people that do have complete separate accounts, but they have an agreed upon amount that does come to a joint account just so that they are about like their household needs and things like that. And for some people that works for them. So we're not saying that joint account is the only way to go, but if we just say that it's nice to have that transparency. So if you're in a relationship where you're separate, but you have ways to join things and things like that, that's also okay. So we're not saying that this is the only way, but this is just our preference because that's what has worked for us really well. All right. Next question.
More financial questions that were shared with us before. So we'll take this one. What do you think are the biggest financial mistakes young professionals make?
There's so many. There's so many.
It's important.
Do you want to start? Okay. So one of the biggest mistakes that young professionals make is, I don't know, most people I know, after they graduate and get a good job, they splurge on something ridiculous, like maybe a brand new car.
Say it. Oh, God.
He did it. Most people do that because, you like, if you were a student, like most of us were students, you were hustling, you were struggling, and you're like, Baba God, once I get a job, like I have to shine, I'm gonna shine, right? And so a lot of us will make a big purchase of something that we've been dreaming of for a long time without thinking about the long-term consequences or what that money could do for us instead. So that was one of the big ones for me.
I think another big mistake that young professionals make, I would say, is, properties, right? Real estate. I think it's important to consider getting a property as early as you can. And also, if you're putting that money versus renting, you're building your equity very early on, right? And maybe eventually when you get married, it can turn into a rental property or whatnot. But if you find that right property early on, go ahead and invest in it, right? And you're putting money into your own future. I think that's very important. I want to say another thing, which is pretty important, right, is not putting enough money in your 401k.
Yeah, that's where my head was as
not
well.
Putting up, I mean, I can't
Yeah.
I can't speak to it as much. Listen, if you're able to immediately start working and you have that opportunity to put money in 401k, you need to double down and put the max as much as you can.
Exactly, especially before you get married, before you have kids, before you have any responsibilities.
Yeah.
I know some companies you don't qualify for it immediately. And what I was actually going to say is when you get a new job, they give you this packet of paper, or if not paper now, on the computer, you have to go through all this training and just clicking through it.
Yep.
And a lot of young professionals, especially us people, that, have maybe immigrant parents where our parents weren't in the American system, didn't know, the opportunities that lie in in corporate America.
Right.
There's employee stock purchase plans. Guys, a lot of people miss this because you can either buy your company's stock at a discounted price, discounted than anybody else, and then you automatically make a profit because you're getting it at a discounted price.
Correct.
They have other benefits where they let you buy the stock at the lowest price in a 6-month period, right? So there's so many ways that young professionals, they don't know. It's not like they don't want it. And that's the thing that a lot of people are making money off of, like their stock purchase plans. And we don't know. You see all the time, CEOs sold 500 shares of the company stock, right? Because they're getting a discount for it and they sell it and they're making automatic money.
No.
And then somebody commented, especially if your company matches. Exactly. So if your company matches,
easy.
That is easy, free money. People are leaving free money on the table. So that's another big mistake that young professionals make.
Yeah. Can I add one more thing? I think that's like 5th point, right? So there's a lot. As you said, there's a lot. And it's all from experience. So another one is, I feel like people need to not leave money on the table when it comes to like educational assistance from their jobs.
Right.
We were talking about it recently, right? Now, I'm not saying that if you don't want to go get a degree, right, then you can't use it. No, there's other certifications, right? Different things that they're a financial investment in yourself from your job that you have, right? A lot of companies provide that opportunity. You need to use it, take advantage of it, whether it's just to get a certification in PMP or, Six Sigma, whatever it is. It might not be critical to your job at the moment, but you don't know how much it would help you in your next job.
Exactly, or promotion, exactly. And then I think the last point, so we can wrap this one up and move on, is that, as a young professional, don't be scared to grow. Most people, when they start in corporate America, or, in a new job, just graduated from school, you're like, man, I'm just happy I got a job. I don't know what I'm doing. So let me just, stay here. Always be looking for the next best opportunity. Like, we're not saying leave your company every day or anything like that, but make sure that you're not just content in that job that you're having, because before you know, you're going to be 10 years in the company. You haven't grown in your career. So always make sure that you're looking for opportunities, whether or not you're ready to move. I always tell my husband, like, practice interviews. Like, there's nothing wrong in keeping your interview skills sharp, not because you want to move, but because you want to make sure that you're not missing out on opportunities that may be out there for you.
Right. And make sure you're looking at your value online and all that. Because
good points. No, go ahead.
Okay, make sure you keep looking at your value online for that job that you're in or that career path you're in. Because a lot of times, the company that you are in, you think, oh, they're treating you well. They've got everything perfect for you. The package was sweet when you got out.
Right.
You that weren't getting no money before college, you thought, oh, what you got was sweet. But as you start growing in your career, you need to start checking your value in the market so okay, this is where I can get out there and I can start preparing myself for that next jump.
Right. And somebody in the comments, Shia A, said HSA and FSA. So some people might not know. So when you have with your company insurance, you can either get a flexible spending account, that's what a FSA is, towards your medical expenses, or an HSA towards your medical expenses as well. And there's something called a DCFSA, that's a dependent care FSA. If you have it for your children, it's a $5,000 limit you can put in a year, but it's pre-tax money that you can use for childcare. So it's so important. A lot of young professionals, maybe you're not there yet with kids, but just keep in your back pocket. But the HSA, I just learned something new about HSAs in the last couple months. Guys, did you know that with your HSA, if you don't spend the money in there, it continues to grow tax-free. And after the age of 65, it turns into a traditional IRA. You do not have to use it on medical expenses. It's just free money that you can spend. And it just grew tax-free all those years. And you can take it out like that.
All right. So imagine starting now where all the money you have in the world, you want to splurge, but instead you can grow financially, exponentially.
Yeah, because a lot of people are like, oh, I don't get sick. I don't need to put it in my HSA. Maximize your HSA because it has a limit. If you maximize it, that money is just going to be money that's going to keep growing in the market. And whenever you do, retire, that's just free money that you can use because you were healthy your entire life.
Kudos to you. All right. Any questions on that? I think we probably give like 7 or 8 to these young professionals. So I hope you took notes. because that would really transform your life as you continue to grow.
Right.
I love this next question. There's more about finance. Maybe we'll take this one more finance.
Right, one more finance, and I think we have a lot more relationship questions.
Right. So how much money should I save for emergencies? Okay, so there's different levels of emergencies, right? The first level, which again derives from the Dave Ramsey's baseline, right, education, is $1,000, right? If you could start with $1,000, right, in case of any random event that pop up, you should be able to handle it with $1,000 while you're paying off your debt, while you're taking care of other bills that you're struggling with and increasing your income. 1,000 should be substantial. But as you take care of other things, right, you want to take it to a level of about 3 to 6 months of your expenses. I would say 6 months of your expenses to be in a safe space. The reason why is because it takes around 6 months. If you lose a job, which usually is the biggest risk, it takes about 6 months to recover and find a job, right? So 6 months of your expenses, meaning not all the other splurge activities that you do or vacation money. This is just your immediate expenses, and having enough of that would be ideal.
Right. And a lot of people argue about Dave Ramsey's $1,000 thing. Most people say 1,000 because that book was written a long time ago. Mm-hmm. So most people say $1,000 is just not enough for emergencies anymore. But at least it's something so that it puts a dent. A lot of people on their debt payoff journey, you know, they can fall off the wagon because something came up that cost like $200. Right. And that extra $200 payment they were supposed to put into their debt, you know, can be paid because they have to do something else. But in terms of the 3 to 6 months, so like my husband said, 6 months is, you know, the most ideal because of the amount of time that it takes to get a new job. However, you know, it just depends on where you are. Mm-hmm. So if you are, for us, like in a 2-income family, right? Even if one person loses their job, one person is still working, you know, we can be comfortable at 3 months. Mm-hmm. If you're a business owner, 6 months might not be enough because you're not looking for another job. Yeah. You're working on building your business back. You might need a year worth of emergency savings. So it's going to be individualized again. So look at your situation. If I lose my job today, because that's what the point of an emergency fund most of the time. I mean, it's also for, you know, when little things come up. Well, not little things. Emergency comes up. So if a purse you want or shoes you want are on sale, that is not an emergency.
No bueno. Don't go and buy it.
If this crazy new investment opportunity that nobody has done research comes on, that is not an emergency. You can save towards it, but that's not an emergency. So really, if you lose your job, you know, how long can I last for, right? If you have, like, if you're young and you have family you can go live with, you might not need to go to 6 months because worst case, if you lose your job, like, peace out, I can go to my parents.
Mommy and daddy got me.
So everybody's situation is going to be different. So you have to look at what are your expenses, who's depending on you, what do you need to prepare so that if anything happens that was not planned for, you're able to sustain through it.
Right. Okay.
All right.
That's so a good amount of
another relationship question.
All right, so let's see what else is out there on relationship.
Breaks.
Yeah.
We already talked about that one. So breaks. So we had a question about, you know, taking breaks in your dating relationship. You know, are they valuable? Are there points where it really is needed to take a break, or is when you take a break, is it a sign that the relationship is not going to work?
So the way I look at breaks, and yes, having too many breaks is a sign that there's a problem.
What's too many?
What is too many?
Right.
Oh, I mean, I guess everybody their own, right? To each their own. And too many might be 1, 2, right? I mean, after 1, 2, it's like, okay, you have too many. I mean, we crossed that threshold. So, but anyway.
But I was waiting. I'm like, huh? What are you saying?
I mean, but really, you know, 1, 2 is too many. I mean, the fact is this, right? There is a problem if you're having that many breakups, and I think you have to go to the foundation, right? Is there something that is not working between us? Are there foundational issues in ourselves that we need to go work on? You have to be really transparent, right? But if you keep going back and not working on it, you will continue to have breakups. But I do feel like breakups are still important because it does allow you guys to go rethink what you're doing in this relationship.
Right. And I think let me define break versus breakup.
Oh, okay.
So a break, a lot of times people take a break. Basically, I just need some space. And so, some people will define it. Let's take a 2-week break and then we'll come back after 2 weeks. Breaks, in my opinion, I don't think breaks alone are valuable. I feel like if you're at the point where you need space and you gotta rethink it, maybe you need to break up so that you can actually think on it. Because I feel like sometimes people take breaks to just go do whatever they want to do. I'm like, okay, 2 weeks, I'm dating again. So I think if you feel like you need to take a break, you probably need to separate from that person for that time period and really figure out, like my husband said, what are the issues? What is going on? Is this something that can be fixed? And then you can now reevaluate, okay, what do we need to do? Right? And sometimes, some people get back in a little breakup and then come back in a relationship and be like, oh, I'll just manage whatever it is. But just when you have to get to the point of a break or a breakup, know that there is a big issue somewhere. And you really need to think it out, write it out so that you don't forget, because you're missing that person, right? Because you're naturally, when you feel that you're at the point of a break or breakup, it means there's a big issue there.
I don't know. I'm kind of opposed to the idea of having two different things, break and breakup. I feel like it's almost the same thing. I mean, if you're on a break,
you're broken up.
Like,
right, but
what break are you having? It's not
that's what I'm saying. So I'm saying if you're going to take a break, you might as well break up.
Right.
So some people say want a 2-week break or a 1-month break.
What?
So
are you getting a cup of water and then coming back? Like, what's the point?
Right.
It's
So if you're at that point, you really just need to evaluate, how many breaks have we had or breakups, and why are we breaking up? And if those reasons why you're breaking up, why you're dating haven't been resolved, they're going to be the same issues that you have when you get married.
Right. And it's not to say that, having too many breakups would not, give you guys a long-term relationship, or you wouldn't be able to have a long-term relationship. No, because, we talked about ours. But the fact is, if you're going through that, you need to realize there is a problem and it's not being resolved.
Right.
And that's really what that is. And you got to work on it. But yes, if you need a break or break up, you need to take it and figure it out. Right. If you can't figure it together.
Right. Great point.
Okay. Next one, again, on relationship. Again, if you have questions, please put it in the chat.
Yep.
We'll take it.
We only have like 20 something. I didn't realize this was going to go so fast. So thank you all for joining. Everybody that's new that I haven't said hi to. Hi, everybody.
Okay. So
we have a really long one here.
Yeah. Love your channel. Attracted to your channel. Okay, where's the question?
You have to keep scrolling.
Hey. This one is someone.
So I think the it's a really long question, but I think the big thing is that how to manage church and life and
church drama
and things like that. If you're not growing in a church, right? At what point do you leave the church, and not be like, oh, I'm a bad Christian because I left the church. And I think this person was saying, let's see.
It's a small church.
So their life was on standstill while they were at the church. They weren't growing in their faith at the church. And at the end of the day, with our background, church is big in our background. But the thing is that you have to make sure that whatever you're doing, you're focused on your relationship with God.
God first.
And the big thing is, if you're in a relationship and you're married, make sure that your husband and yourself, or your spouse or yourself, are aligned. I know we've gone through periods where we weren't aligned, where I'm like, oh, I don't like this church, and he likes the church, or vice versa. And we'll pray about it, and one way or the other, God will touch us. But in this situation, this individual actually left the church, and was having some issues after they left the church with with just church leadership, I believe.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, your relationship with God has nothing to do with those church people.
Absolutely.
Focus on growing in God, and it's God that sees your heart. It's God that directs your path. And so if you feel like, you're not growing somewhere, don't feel bad, but pray. Don't make a decision because, somebody said they didn't like your outfit this Sunday, because that happens a lot, especially in African churches. So just make sure that you are making a decision that is backed by God when you decide to leave, one body of Christ to go to a different body of Christ. But as long as your relationship with God is continuing to grow. That's the main thing. And if you do feel like you're stagnant in a place of worship, that might be a good sign for you to say, okay, God, I need you to take me somewhere else.
Perfect. That's the key point, right? If your relationship with God is not growing, again, number one, that's what's most important. If it's not growing, then you might need to reconsider. Now, that church, wherever you're at, whether it's small or big, the whole point is for fellowship, community, right? Supporting each other, right? And growing in faith. And if the baseline, which is your faith, is not there and growing, then what's the point? Go somewhere else where you can grow with your people and build a community elsewhere.
Thank you so much, Wala J. I apparently look like a chocolate egg, my skin. Or is it you she's talking about?
Thank you. Thank you.
And then Miracle Star said your relationship with Christ is key. Exactly. Don't let whatever church you're going to be what pulls you or deters you away from God.
You want to see examples of probably not. No. Keep it healthy here. Keep it healthy.
All right, let's move on to the next question.
All right. So I think
thank you.
That was a very unique one. Relationship with like church members and stuff like that. So that's good. I think we got another one on finance.
Okay.
So we'll just take that. So what advice do you have for recent grads who are paying off student loans while still having a life? Woo!
That's a good one.
That's
a good one. Because at the end of the day, everybody doesn't want to wait until they are, in their 60s to start living their life. You have to live life. So what do you do while, you want to pay off your student loans, but you also want to live your life? And it's all balance. So like we said, because that same person had another question about savings. We'd already, done the one question on how you save. Making it automatic, you don't see the money, that takes it out of sight. So the same thing with having a life. So we have a video coming up, like I said, where we talk about how we save and savings account, types of accounts.
Right. Watch
and one of those accounts is called a Smile account. That account is the account where you get to do what you want. So you can still live your life while paying off debt, but you're gonna have to, again, make it automatic. That money is going to that account. That's your account to live your life.
Yeah.
Now, it might not be fat, but you have to make sure that, you plan around it, right? If you have to take a road trip instead of flying somewhere, you're still living your life. You're still going somewhere else. You're still taking a trip. If you have to stay in a 3-star hotel instead of a 5-star hotel, I'm being honest, you're still living your life, right? Because again, a lot of people get stuck in that keeping up with the Joneses mentality. Oh, but this person just went to Dubai and came back with a whole bunch of gold. This person's hair cost $500. I wanted to.
Big gold, though.
Like, look, you can get your cheap hair and it will only last you 2 months, but for those 2 months, you were looking lit. So at the end of the day, you can still live your life. It's not going to be maybe to the level you want to live it. But if you pay off those student loans because you're focused, then you do get to that point where you can really live your life lavish sooner.
I love this question because the background of that is great, right? Is, you want to live life. You have to budget for that portion while you're paying off your debt. That's great. The other thing you got to remember is that, do you want to live a life that no other later on, right? I mean, do you want a life that is even more robust than what you want to live now? Keep in mind, don't go for the instant gratification, right? You can plan yourself and set yourself right for the future where you will live even more lavish than you can imagine. So if you pay your student loans off, there's a lot of things that can actually happen to help you out in the future. Number one, if you get that off your plate sooner than later, you're building your network pretty fast.
Right.
And keep in mind, once you take care of that, remember all that amount there that you've been putting towards your student loans can now go into planning and investing and doing big things. But when you're slicing and dicing your money in the future, because you got to pay student loans, you got to pay for your mortgage, you got to pay.
And I have 5 kids.
Right. Please be careful. Anyway, so if you wait till later on, you're just adding more complexities to your financial obligations in the future when you could be doing much, much bigger things.
Bigger things, right? And we have the Neelys present Grandma's Wealth Wisdom. They call the account that we talked about where you put you put whatever money you want to live with. They call it their Mad Money account. I've never heard that one before. We call it our Smile account because it makes us smile. So I really like that one. And then we have Sanaya that said, yes, live like no one else can.
There we
So
go.
you can live like no one else. And that comes from Dave Ramsey. That's the biggest thing. You're going to live like nobody else now so that later in life, when everybody's like trying to figure it out, you're living like nobody else. Like everyone's looking at you like, wait, what happened?
Yeah,
and
I mean,
so
see, the thing about it is this, right? If you also have that student loan, right? And I was talking about net worth. Some people may not understand why that's important, right? If you want to start a business and you need some major capital, if you have student loan that's holding you back, it's going to be there's a
substantial amount of student loan,
right? That's still out there. It's going to hold them back from being able to offer you those things. And I mean, there's a lot of different things that you would use your net worth for in terms of getting capital, starting a business, maybe a franchise, whatever you want to do. It limits you in terms of your net worth and having too much debt to be able to go into, or even mortgage, to get a nice house for your family. For those of you that will have 5, 6 kids, right? You might want a big house that's nice. If you have student loan debt, it's going to hold you back at that point. So why don't you double down, take care of it, and live a better life?
Right. And just along those same lines, for us, we want to retire early. Retiring early, like by 40.
Fire. You gotta explain that.
And so, if I'm 40 something and I'm still trying to pay off student loans, where am I retiring, right? And so, our point of retiring early is not that we're not going to be working anymore. It's that we're going to be doing things that we absolutely love, where we're not stuck in a 9 to 5, and we can have more time for our kids and stuff like that. So we know that, we're not taking the lavish trips now, but by the time we're 40, we can take them without worrying about, mortgage, student loans, car payment. Because those things add up. Those are the things that are keeping a lot of people in the 9 to 5s. And so that's why, again, live like no one else now, so you can live like no one else later.
Right. And I mean, you for those that are.
Somebody asked what is FIRE. So FIRE is Financial Independence, Retire Early. It's an acronym. So we're kind of like on a journey to that, where we're financially independent and we're able to retire early. And it's a movement that we found, after we started our channel. We found a lot of good people on that journey sharing their experiences with us. And it's such a powerful movement that millennials now are going into, because we see, a lot of the older generation, they're still trying to figure out a lot because this movement just wasn't around then. And so us as a generation, we're trying to make sure that we're not stuck in the 9 to 5 rut for the rest of our lives, or later in life trying to figure things out. So if we're working on building our portfolios, diversifying our portfolios, making sure that at a certain age, we should get to decide when you want to retire. You're able to financially afford, based on all the assets that you have, to live without working, even though you can still work.
Right. So enough passive incomes are coming in, at the younger age that you want to retire. So as we said, this is something that's trending right now. A lot of millennials are tackling this very heavily, and there's different ranges of FIRE, right? But we'll have more deep discussions about it. My biggest thing is that I don't want to put it on our channel. People say, Hellfire, where are you going? So we got to ease people into it. But you heard it here for the first time now. Just know, fire doesn't mean hellfire. We're on the journey to fire, but it's,
Somebody said, what does retirement mean for you? So retirement for us means no longer having a 9 to 5. So it's not like we're not going to work anymore. We probably will start a business or something like that. But for us, it just means that, even when we start a business, like, you don't want to be in a situation where, if the money doesn't come in, you're screwed type of deal. So we want to be in a place at that time where, we have enough money streams that we're good. Even like, okay, today I don't feel like working. We're good. And also, we want to make sure we have time for our kids. Our kids are going to be in their teenage years during that time. And, they're going to have games. They're going to have different things. We want to make sure that work responsibilities are not keeping us away from that. And then somebody said, I don't want to wait until I'm 40. I want to live my life now.
Hey, turn up.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Honestly, if you want to live your life now, go ahead. Just know that you're going to be living your life now. And then when you're older, you're still going to be working and stuff like that. Some people are okay with that. Like my dad, he always says, I want to work until I cannot work anymore. Some people are like that because they enjoy already what they do. And not like we don't enjoy what we do, but we just don't want the restriction of like, okay, I'm working from this time to this time, which means I'm not available where I need to be.
Yeah.
And retirement to Miracle Stars, retirement to me means you have flexibility in financial breakthrough. And the key word is flexibility. You can, like some people, like you said, with fire, there's different levels of fire. There's like a barista fire where you want to be comfortable enough where you can live your life, but still have a side job. Like they call it barista because you could be a barista at Starbucks.
Yep.
Because you're not getting that much money,
but you enjoy it.
You enjoy it, and it subsidizes whatever you're making from your passive. So there's different levels to fire. The Neely said they retired early when they started their coffee shop at 24. So for that person that is saying they want to live their life now, you can start your coffee shop or whatever it is you want to like now. They didn't know it was fire then, but they feel like they weren't financially independent, but they're working towards, or they might be there now. But yeah, so it just depends on you. Now, if you want to, let's say you determine where you want, like for us, it's 40. Some people it's 35 that they want to, and you just have to work harder. It means you have to maybe stay in an apartment longer, cut back on more now so that you can achieve that and start living your life sooner. And
the time you started, right, it also will dictate really how much you got to do to hit that date, right, or that age. And if you start, the earlier the better for you to get closer to that age that you want to retire early. And for those that are wanting to turn up and enjoy their life right now, just keep in mind that, there's all these other things that may not be there for you in the future. Let's say you're in America, Social Security, all these different things, they might not be as robust when you get to that age. So just be mindful of that.
Right.
But hey, to each their own.
And then the law of compounding interest, because at the end of the day, your money got to go somewhere. And if it's in the stock market or wherever it is, no matter what, it's gonna apply that law of compounding interest. Compounding interest works better the longer it's in it. So if you're living your life now and you're not putting too much in ways where it can be compounded and grow, when you start, you will have to, catch up in order to be able to do that.
And if you're in your early 20s, right? Even us, there's things that we're just finding out now, and we're,
Somebody said, "Oh, this is Shia sis, LOL." Yes, I am. I don't know why.
Shia brother, hi. No, sorry, no, that's weird. Never mind. Shia brother-in-law, yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, y'all, is there any questions we missed? Because we're already at the hour. I can't believe it went by so fast.
Woo. My goodness. I think we covered most of the questions that were submitted in.
Okay. Any other questions in the chat that anybody wants us to answer? I think we answered everything. Yeah, we've answered all our questions. So perfect timing for us.
You did it. Any more questions?
All right. So I think that's it. We have 1 minute left, but we really appreciate you all for joining us. This is our first time doing this. We're like, hopefully we don't say anything that embarrasses us. And I think he might have said a couple of things.
I don't know how,
But we really appreciate you all for joining. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, go ahead and subscribe. This Q&A will be posted on our channel. So if anybody missed it that might benefit from it, share. We do have a subscriber goal for 500 subscribers this month. It seems like a crazy goal because we have 7 days left in this month.
Crazy
but
faith.
Exactly. We have crazy faith. So share us with anybody you feel like might benefit from our channel, and we just hope to continue to give you more things that you can enjoy or learn from. We're by no means relationship experts, lifestyle experts, or finance experts. We're just on this journey, and we're hoping that you all can just win in your relationships as you go along, your relationships, your lifestyle, your finances, as you go along on this journey with us.
And please, if you haven't watched any of our other videos, like she said, please go watch them. We may even have more videos on some of these topics in the future coming, so be prepared for those, and share with your loved ones, friends, family. Keep in mind, this is going to help every single person, right? Whether single, married, in a relationship, we want you to be a power couple. Let's go. All right.
All right, y'all.
Thank you
Thank you
all
all so much for watching, and look out for our next video.
Peace.
All right.
God bless.
Oh, somebody said, how do you feel about scams? Scams.
Ooh, scams?
We are making a whole video on scams,
my
and we might need to, yes, that is a great topic, and we will add it to our, because we're going to have more Q&A. We had a video planned on this. We actually, yeah.
I got a crazy story, y'all. Me, JJC. I had some problems, scammers, man.
We've had a lot of experiences, and I think he's talking about, a lot of pyramid schemes, multi-level marketing scams. So we will have that in our topic on our next Q&A. We'll try to have these type of Q&As at least once a month so that we can just get questions out there on these. But those are very, they can be very dangerous, but we will definitely talk about that in our next Q&A. It's going to be our first question for our next Q&A.
All right. That's a good one. Wow. Can't even, the memories of that scam was pretty bad.
You want to just tell that one story, but I know he was talking about multi-level marketing.
No, I'm talking about some direct scam, like criminal scam.
So we'll save that for our next video, guys. But thank you all so much for joining us on this live, and hopefully we'll catch you next time.
All right, y'all. Peace.
All right. Bye-bye, everyone.